Okay, so we'll kind of step over by my trailer. So we're building the overland trailer, and I got a lot of it wired up, but I actually don't know if I wired it right. And I'm not ready to take it out, drag it out, go down the ramp and attach it to my truck, because that's going to be a lot more work just to see if I wired it right, because then I would just bring it back in the shop to wire it. So I needed a 7-way connector. I Googled, I couldn't find a 7-way connector for less than a couple $100 that tested trailer lights. Well, so then I had an idea. There had to be an easier way. What we had been doing was I took a power supply, happens to be from an old computer, and if you don't know it, you can take the black and the green wire and just connect them together. That's kind of like the on switch on the front of an old computer. When you do that, you end up with a couple of things you can use. Black and yellow wire is 12 volt. Red and black wire is now 5 volt. So I have now, with this $1 old computer power supply, a 16 amp 12 volt connector. That means I had enough power to plug into my trailer and run whatever I want. It would run my fridge, it would run all my lights, it would run connectors, power sources, all the things I would need as if I were plugged into my truck. Not as many amps really as connected to the truck, but it's close enough to work for me. So we've been just shoving these into the right ports on the connector, and I realized they fall out, they wiggle, it was a bad idea. There had to be a better way. So what I did is we found a small project box in the shop. It's about 6 or 7 inches by 3 inches by 2 inches. We went to AutoZone and I picked up a $10 female truck side connector 7-way port. I found 5 momentary switches in my shop, so you have to push them to connect the circuit. An on-off switch that I wanted for the auxiliary power, which is what I normally am hooked up to my truck with to power my trailer, and I want to test all my lights. So I opened up the back of the box, I drilled a bunch of holes, connected all this in, took the plug apart, screwed in a bunch of wires to all the right ports because there's 7 screw taps on the back. I then followed all the wires that they're supposed to be, hooked them up to switches and marked them, marked the aux switch. I put a female 12 volt port from any standard toy you have laying around the house, and then I hooked that up to my computer power supply so I can plug it in. This now has 12 volts. Basically, I'm running 12 volts to every port on the 7-way. But I obviously don't want them on all the time because I'll blow my lights, and it's very hard to test them and know which one does which and whether it does what it's supposed to. So that's the idea of the momentary switches, and the aux switch is 12 volts, so my trailer will run. So now all I have to do is plug in my trailer wire, and if I flip the aux switch, you can look in, I suddenly get power inside my trailer. And then the other switches over here, as I press them, I can end up with my tail lights, all of the appropriate lights that I want to go off. And I also have a wire now to test my electric brakes, because I wouldn't be able to test that till I hooked it up to the truck and an electric brake controller. It's definitely not running like it would with a brake controller, but it at least tells me if it's working or not and I'm wired correctly. I'll actually have to test the electric brakes with the brake controller. But basically for right about 20 bucks, you could probably make one of these, maybe 25 bucks, depends on what kind of switches and stuff you have. I was able to build it for 10 bucks, $9.99 plus tax, so $10.70, whatever the heck it was, because I just needed the female port and the rest of this stuff I had laying around. But now I have a positive way to build a 7-way connector for generally any standard 7-way trailer, and did it quick and easy. So thanks for watching.